Welcome back to another episode of Two Guys, One Room. Today our topic is actually going to be about switching from like a big MNC company to more of like a startup kind of culture. So today we are joined by
PC.
PC.
You can call me PC.
And your laptop.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, just let me get to the flow of this introduction.
Sure.
I just want to say how I met her.
Oh yeah, sure.
So PC and I actually met through a phone call. So it's more like, hello PC, no, Pui Cheng. Are you looking for a job? And she said, yeah. And that time she was working in Maxis.
Yeah.
What position was it again?
That time I was like, what was my actual role? My actual role was like transformational associate.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Channel transformation associate.
Yeah, and it's dealing with like merchants and all, right?
Directly part under sales and services department, but mainly we are doing, because Maxis has multiple channels. So we have Maxis Center, the call center. These are all known as a channel, and I'm actually tasked to look into a specific channel and come up with like what are the solutions or things that we can fix better to enhance that particular channel. So that's my role.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to call for a product development position with a few companies, and one of them was Naluri. Naluri was an interesting company by us run.
Yeah.
So I called her and I found out that she's a very interesting candidate. I'm very willing to
Define interesting.
very interesting candidate, willing to speak, willing to talk, willing to give her own ideas. And like I told her about this company, then the next day she was like, she gave me a list of things to improve on about the company and about the company's product. Go download the freaking app and see also.
Yeah.
So I was like, boom, this candidate.
No, I was actually very surprised with his reaction, and I thought it was normal for a candidate to do so. Little that I know it was.
Millennials are not very proactive.
One of the very few candidates who did that. Yeah, so she actually downloaded the app for the company and just inspect the app and say what can we improve on and what sort of features can be added on. So I found like that was very interesting. So I had another client that I was working closely with, and that was Jaga app. And that's when Jaga came into play. So I told Jaga about her and they wanted to see her.
Without me knowing. That's the whole point, without me knowing.
Yeah, I told me after Jaga said they want to interview her.
You should really describe the process of like, because through our conversation, before he sort of tried to sell me off to Jaga, because we had a conversation saying that why I want to change. What was my intention? Why would you want to change? What kind of company you want? I think that's when I said that I'm currently quite open. Company size doesn't matter. I wanted a change, or at least I'll go by instinct based on the options that I have. I will see what would be the best. And somehow, when he told me about Jaga app, I was like a bit scared because I don't know much, and I wasn't expecting you to give me another company so soon. I was a bit excited, and the fact that I remember that I wanted to ask you more questions, and you pick on the words that I was really sort of like challenging myself at that time, which is like try not to know too much and just jump straight in and see whether you like it or not.
I said that?
Yeah.
I said that?
Yeah, because I actually asked you on what's the position, what's the company about, and you're like, there's actually no JD. If you're open for discussion as what you described and told me via the phone, do you mind to actually drop by to the company and talk about it? And I'm like, yeah, since I said that I'm open and I got to be open, and I just went, and I actually glad that I sort of did until now, because it's something that I never thought I would end up with a startup company like that.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is like, from a company as big as Maxis, where everything is stable, and I think the benefits there are like quite game also. Like, what are the factors that you factor into when you decided to, sign the offer letter from Jaga and, work with the company?
So Maxis per se, a lot of my friends, if I tell them that I want to move, they say that I'm crazy.
Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?
Because the fact that you get mobile plan, I think about 500 free 500 and that is after reduction, yeah. and then you can also get a lot of employee engagement, Zumba is free, yoga, Muay Thai, there are events. And the thing is, what really struck me at a point of time is that I have been there for close to 4 years.
In Maxis?
In Maxis.
Damn.
In Maxis. I didn't feel like I want to continue because, first of all, I always feel I'm not a very corporate person. And the fact that I landed up somewhere with so many hierarchy, human political styles, it's actually not that intense, but the fact that this is my first company, I have this very strong, I don't know what I don't know, and I just want to head out there. And during this whole transition, besides of my urge wanting to move because I felt stagnant, and I thought as a youngster, so you can actually grow at Maxis. Don't take me wrong that the company is not good. The company is good, but the fact that you have a lot of very, very brilliant people, and sometimes it's all about the projects that you received, and also the boss, and also the working colleagues that you have.
So a lot of factors are not in your control.
A lot of factors. And I was like, okay, I tried a few years here. I had fun going on with the management training program for the first 2 years, and I liked it a lot. I think the management training in Maxis are very comfortable. We are given a very quite structured program for 2 years. With mentors, so every time you feel like there's shit happening, and you will have like people, more senior colleague will try to like help you off, and then like make sure protect you in some manner. That per se, I always felt like we are protected in some way, and I feel like we can't grow as fast as I think I want to grow. So when I made the decision at that time, I was a bit scared, but I wanted something drastically different, and also my heart tells me that I want to do it. Because if I don't want to do it, then no point if I get another MNC with great pay, great benefit, but if I don't want to do it, it means I don't do it. I'm a bit rebellious in that sense. So then on meeting Joshua on that, and also during the transition period, I actually watched a lot of this particular YouTube channel called Yes Theory. So during that period, I was quite lost because I have a strong urge wanting to change, that's for sure. Changing to what that period is actually very confusing, especially you have multiple options, a lot of thinking, a lot of worries after a certain decision. And of course, because of your friends, family saying so much about like, why would you even bother to move on? And I know that I can stay on in Maxis. I'm being given a promotion or whatsoever. I don't really want to take the more comfortable route. So because of watching like Yes Theory for a moment, I was basically telling myself, I'm gonna set a cut-off time. And of course Joshua was chasing me at the time. but anyway, even without him in place, because I know finding a job can go on and on. And it's very, very tiring process. So I told myself, give 2 to 4 weeks, go hardcore with whatever I have, what kind of options that I have, and then start weighing it, which I did. So after getting whatever options that I have, I basically end up, the last aspect that I really jump on to choose my current job, is the fact that it gives me the most discomfort. That is what Yes Theory is all about. But the concept and the mindset is that you should always pick something that you're most fearful about and most uncomfortable, and just jump straight in, and along the way, although you're not comfortable, you will learn something. So that's the mentality that I had. And all this while, I knew that I'm someone who can't stay still at one area. I'm still figuring out, but I wanted to be more like a generalist. Not so much of a specialist. So I don't really care about
jack of all trades.
Yeah. So I don't really want to be like just telco, just some areas, and then I don't even know what's the beautiful world happening outside there. So for me, changing industry is not a problem. And also keeping my options really open. So yeah, that's why I've just picked like the current company, which is like the most out of my thought, and I thought that I should give a try. And of course, I was talking a lot to my friends, my colleagues, not just like straight away jump right in, with some deep consideration also, and also ask myself whether I would take the risk, and whether I want to take the risk. Of course, I have a lot of friends who work in the startup and start warning me, PC, do you know the startup that I went last time, I don't even get paid. And I'm like, of course at the time I really wanted to change badly. So I'm like, okay, if I really don't get paid for a good 3-4 months because of entering a startup, this can be any startup, can I bear the risk? I'm like, I can't tahan for a 3-4 months, and I want to try. So I jumped straight in. I'm like, now that I'm inside, it's very, very different. I'm still adjusting. This is only my fourth month in the startup. But I'm glad that I changed, because a lot of things that I thought or I complained in the MNC, I can now see the beautiful side and also maybe the pros and cons of MNC, and the things that a startup can give versus what an MNC cannot give me, which there's just here and there, really depending what you want.
No good or bad, just different.
No good or bad. Even now, I wouldn't say I miss my corporate job, because it's just like the support system is really good there, because there's a lot of good
Structure,
people.
it's very structured.
They have great HR policy, and when you have good people strategy, you really attract people from all around. I mean, across everywhere, even across abroad. So having nice, great people there, Maxis is a great place to be. Here, the team is much smaller. You don't get so much support because everyone is just relatively young. Maybe your most senior would be your boss. So that's when you can exercise what you want to do. So I told my boss I wanted to come here to make more decisions. But this is something that I don't have in Maxis.
True.
You have so many seniors. You have so many layers and bosses with you. And even if you have some thought, I'm not sure how much you can be heard each time. This is what I wanted to learn and at least brush up.
And speaking about support, right? Like support in terms of like emotionally, or more of like the work you do, so they can guide you and give you like proper steps to do it.
Oh, you mean in Maxis?
Yeah, in Maxis.
More towards work, but one thing, okay, emotionally also a fair bit. MNC versus startup is that in MNC you can sort of try to find, let's say Joshua is the next, is a person that I sort of want to be next, because he's in the senior role.
Okay.
I think I can look up to him to climb the corporate ladder. So you can actually visualize yourself in like 3 years time, I want to be a Joshua. And that's quite clear if you want to be. For that, it's like you can start talking to, let's say, if somehow I get your contact, I can reach out to you and you happen to be a very, very nice person. You can be my mentor and I can ask you, Joshua, when you were around my age, were you struggling like how I'm struggling now? Are you feeling like how I feel now?
Yep.
Because a lot of times, youngsters like us, I feel like we are very pampered with a lot of options.
Yeah.
No matter, regardless of what. Just a lot of options. And we tend to don't know where to start because of the options. It's something that I think all of us can relate. Sometimes we just have too many ideas, too many things that we want to do. Then end up you just like get so frustrated not doing anything at all. You start blaming yourself.
It's like the blessing became a curse.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like the structure of the company that you're mentioning. So like right before I hop into like asking you about the contrast about the two companies, was that you were mentioning also how the structure gave you a lot of support, but at the same time that exact same structure actually prevented you from getting what you were looking for, which was getting uncomfortable and also maybe like you said, getting my ideas heard and everything. So just to understand it a little bit better, the reason that actually pushed you to change was that after these 4 years, you kind of got very comfortable. Is it that everything was just kind of like slowly, it's very step by step and everything's in place, that there's no new things that you're encountering, is it? Was that kind of like the core reason that you made that?
If I were to tell this to my previous boss, he would not be very pleased hearing me saying I would get very comfortable. But what I define comfortable here is that you are already comfortable with the work environment. You're comfortable with the cross-functional working style. Your job can always be very challenging. So how I read this is that some people, they are growing in their 10-20 years. They kept changing role every 2-3 years. Then they get very senior and comfortable. But it really depends whether this segment of people, whether they keep challenge themselves of new role, because they can't just stay on with the same old role and go on and on and on and on. But for me, whenever I ask any senior of their 10 or 20 years in Maxis, I get very fearful, because I don't want to be like them.
Like doing the same damn thing day in, day out.
Yeah. Well, at least like if you change from a Maxis to a Huawei to a startup to another startup, you'll be like, startup B is better than startup A because of this and this. Startup A is better than the MNC A because of this. But now I'm like, MNC A is the best, but then I haven't been anywhere. And I actually, the first few years in Maxis, I'm not sure whether this happens to everyone during the first few years, but I don't know my worth in the beginning. I was trying to find my identity. I don't feel like I'm good also. So when even people compliment me, I'm like, I don't know whether this is Chinese ad mentality. Like Chinese ad mentality is like, you always ask to perform and you always feel like you're not performing good enough.
Yeah, because there's always like a few people better than you.
So I don't know whether this makes us fake humble or real humble. I don't know what humble.
Then when you actually like perform and people compliment you, then be like, I know that's not me.
Because like we really grew up with an environment that's like, even if I'm good, right, there's 50 people that are doing everything better than me.
Correct. So I was like that the first few years. Then later on, but MNC, the 4 years in MNC also helped me to realize that I'm actually not bad. You find yourself, you learn things from the senior, which is also good.
Could you also say that you found like a value that you're bringing, not only that you found your own self-worth, but more of like, I feel when we just go in, we're not sure, like you say, what we're good at or what I'm contributing. So after these 4 years, maybe do you know now that if I enter the company, what kind of value I can bring to the table? Would you say that you also understood that more?
Yeah, I feel like definitely better, because like a lot of times people take themselves for granted also. You tend to speak very well, but you actually don't know that speaking well is an add-on advantage. You don't know that being able to mingle or socialize very well cross-functionally makes your project faster. You don't know. And for you, it's because maybe throughout your childhood or whichever, you have been always talking like that to your friend. It's nothing weird. You're not doing anything extraordinary. You don't feel it. But when you work with other people, you tend to see, wow, some people just can't communicate.
And actually this skill that I had is actually so valuable.
And sometimes that's when also, cause you meet a lot of people in MNC, you can also see that it's not about age. A lot of people that I know around 30 years old, they are very lost. They are in the transition of sort of stuck, because if you are someone coming in 20 over years old and you're a super high performer, you climb up a corporate ladder really fast. And if you're not that fast, you will still grow, maybe progressively. But for the 30 years old, it's like they sort of reach, let's say, a specialist, and then you're like, okay.
I told already,
so what am I going to do next? And the next 10 years, they don't know what to do. And potentially at the specialist role or a more senior role, for you to jump to like a head of department, that transition is very long. I think you need to be very experienced, at the right timing, some
The
hit
boss
the
has a
target
good
off.
relation with you.
Yeah, and sometimes, a lot of times, I also noticed that at least in the one that I experienced, they will always try to employ leaders from other place, no matter it's Malaysian or either non-Malaysian. It's because company's standpoint is that I already have example Justine for 10 years in this team, and Justine is there for 10 years.
Nothing new to bring to the table. Right?
If Justin is capable, he would have done something from 5-10 years ago. Why do I need to wait until like I said that I need to promote someone, then Justin start to show his capability? But this is a lot of frustration that the employee has. Like, why can't you just push your own people?
Yeah.
But this took me quite a while to understand. I can be quite busybody sometimes, just wondering like why some things just doesn't work, and because we are quite happily being like a management trainee, sometimes work doesn't feel like work completely. You tend to see things clearer, and we are quite a lucky bunch. We are sort of paid to work. And paid to learn also.
I think earlier during the conversation, you also mentioned that you're not a corporate person. And is this something that you found out after you left Maxis, or is it something that you found out during when you're working for Maxis?
Maybe the first year.
First year.
First year.
First year.
And you still tahan 3 more years.
Yeah, but like even now, I'm trying to deeply understand what is a corporate person also. Because even like when I'm in a startup, it's not corporate, but I feel like what I define as I'm not a corporate person is that I know I'm someone who wants to deliver, want to do something, but I don't like and don't enjoy when there's people holding it back with too many layers or too many wait here, wait there. That's my definition.
Politics and structure, like
Yeah.
I'd say.
That's my definition of corporate. And for me, because I later discovered that I'm near decent and capable each. And
The
why?
Chinese
Yeah, Roja being a Malaysian. Then why do I have to stand all this nonsense? And of course, if I'm wrong, then you just tell me I'm wrong. Then I just learn from there and quickly just move on with life, and don't have to just go through with so many unnecessary stuff. But nowadays, I'm telling myself to be a bit more patient. Everything is there for me to learn something. But if I feel like I learn enough in any setting, that's when I know when to move on. So I'm going by instinct, I'm quite an instinct person for now.
Yeah, and I understand that whole holding you back in politics and structure thing, because I believe that in a startup type of company, that is the contrast. One of the biggest contrasts is the structure. Because in a startup, even though like if you are doing like maybe BD in startup and I'm doing like HR or something in the startup, it doesn't mean you're only doing BD, I'm only doing HR. You sure need to count team like almost everything. So like that learning curve is very different in the sense that in the MNC is like, okay, everything is laid out. So day 1 to day 5 what you do, and then month 6 what you're gonna do. Everything is very beautifully laid out. Whereas here is like counting everything. Just because it's not in your JD doesn't mean you don't have to do it. So I think that would be a very huge contrast in the structure. And I think the politics a little bit as well, because like in a big type of corporation, you need to do the right things in front of the right people to let the right people hear. Otherwise, then it's as good as you didn't do anything. Versus like in a startup, like if this fella did it, then I think that the boss or the director will know, okay, this fella is the one that did the good work and everything.
But I feel like politics will be there no matter where you go.
Actually, it's in regardless.
Yeah. But like the intensity and like
to what extent? I feel to what extent.
I mean, for me to make a decision throughout this few years or so, talking to people helps a lot, especially people who've been there or did startup before, been in the same place for 10 years, been in the same team for 5 years. I usually try to ask them like, why do you stay on? Why do you move on? Is it something in particular that you don't like? Hearing from people's experience helped me a little bit, And when you sort of discover a pattern of person who worked there 10 years say a similar thing, you're like, Or a person who worked there for 1 year and start complaining and just being the typical youngster, you know that that person is just pure complaint. So because you can't learn everything You got the cue! Freaking cue! Oh my god!
I'm not even gonna defend myself, but every episode we're gonna have this conversation.
Wait, you do this like, as in you got this cue for...
Every time the second
Why do you think the queue is for?
No. Don't do that.
I should give a bad impression. It's not that
I'm not trying to be judgmental.
It's not that I complain, it's I have shit luck in the companies that I've been in.
That's
really
what all shit people say.
Fuck yourself.
But one thing that so during my last day of last week, that's when I have to start saying bye to a lot of my senior colleagues. That's when a lot of times you feel like MNC has a lot of people are very busy, they're constantly busy, they don't have time for you, but they are all actually very caring persons. So they came out to me, they were like, PC, do you know that you go anywhere it's the same? And when she said that, she was like literally giving me like the pause for damn freaking long. I'm like,
what's next?
Yeah,
I was like,
no.
okay. She's like, PC, remember what I said. No matter which company you go, it's the same. So don't bother whether you're working in this, because our team has our team's challenge. I mean, in my previous company, but somehow we just figure out a way and we try to find joy in it. And she also saying that I was in a startup, and being a youngster, when every time we talk to a senior friend or colleague and they tell you that ABC, I've done this before, it's actually very, very challenging, I advise you not to do it. Then you're like, huh? Say what? I want to freaking do it, don't stop me there. So I can be very, very rebellious plus curious, and partially I also know that if I don't try in anything, no matter it's job or any new stuff that I want, I don't stop there. Now that I feel it, at least I can relate better, rather than Joshua tells me that this is hard, or Justine told me but then I didn't listen. But then I'm like, at least Justine tried to warn me, and I'm fully aware, and then I jump straight in and no one forced me. I'm quite proudly claim that at least the decision is made by me and not because like somebody asked me to go.
You can own it yourself.
Yeah, not because of the salary only, not because of benefit only. Which I want to keep continuing doing this until
I think one important trait when it comes to making decisions would be the ability to take responsibility of your own decisions. Because it's I feel like even if you make the wrong decision, right, it's not so much of why did you do this, but more of how do you get out from this. And let's just say if Jagab's not, the startup company is not the best decision, there's always something for you to do, find a new company, or what can you do to improve what you're currently doing. So there are always different ways to
look at
things, and excel from what you're at right now.
What was your kind of the experience? Because I think you gave us so much elaboration, really good elaboration about what it was like being in a corporate, a big type of MNC company. So then now you've been there for 4 months, right?
Yeah.
So then what was the experience there? And then maybe you can kind of contrast it for us, the differences that you started seeing.
Okay. So now that I've only been 2 companies, so first one is MNC, second one is a startup.
2 in 5 years.
2 in 4 years.
I'll never hear the end of it. It's gonna be every episode the same content. Whatever it is, really a 1 year 3 company.
Anyways, go on.
Is it again? Startup. So now that I'm in startup for 4 months, I just realized that even for a big company, there are a lot of there's always, if you want to categorize it, it's always two different types. One is the typical startup that you would see work environment. Okay, okay, if it's just startup, I would say like something like a Grab alike, Boost alike. Those are like the bigger startup, the fifth, which is like very, very established. You feel very, very safe. There's less uncertainty because it's relatively established versus the startup. 2-3 years, 1 or 2 years. When you go in, most of your friends might or might not even know what the heck is it. Then you will start thinking a lot. What is it about? That's why even when I just realized that even when I was trying to find like IT resources for my company, they were describing how that even for someone in general, they wouldn't want to take so much risk. They would rather if they ever want to venture to the startup, they would go to like Zara, to a Lazada, to like a Grab. Like, why would you go to somewhere that most of your friends or even your family haven't heard of? Like, are you crazy? So that is the two different type of startup that I can see. So I'm actually more on the, not to say Jaga app is not known. It is known across 350 neighborhoods across different places. It's just that it's not as established as Faith or Boost. And when that happens, you sometimes have to be strong enough, and your relatives ask you where you're working at. Jaga, what? What is that? You have to spend time. Sometimes you feel like,
easy to explain to you. I no job, no job.
That's the worst, bro. That's no job.
You're doing your 走 app 嘛 走 app 嘅 whichever is it. Sometimes you try to be happy about it, but you're like, damn it, like
why nobody knows?
Nobody knows. But another part is that because now nobody knows, but there are also a group of people who started using, despite they are just like 3-4 years of worth of time there. But sometimes when they know and they started talking about it, I'm like, that is the kind of excitement. Okay, it's a relatively new brand. If you're part of it to build, make it stronger in some way, contribute in some manner. Maybe people can't see it directly. People would not know PC have done this in this particular area. But at least I look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm the one who started this area. And then I can sort of claim about it or talk about it later on with my friends or not, or whichever it is. So I think that part is very exciting. And of course, comparing MNC and also my current startup, I feel like I take a lot of things for granted in Maxis. Example, using email to converse. I thought that's very, very normal. Don't just talk and don't have black and white. Things like this, not because you changed, you would not know that a startup can be actually that unstructured.
Very huru-hara, because there's more like log of our conversation.
Yeah. But I always try to tell my colleagues, the fact that we are in a startup, that's when, if you know how to think, and you can try to on and off distress yourself and then come back to your role, you can actually figure out there are actually a lot of areas, if you have the capacity, you actually have a lot of areas that you can play with. But of course, throughout that period, you sometimes will get very, very frustrated. You wonder like, how can one person do so many things? That's when it teaches you how to time manage better, prioritize better. My previous role in Maxis, I thought I learned enough about prioritization and time management, but this is like
whole different level.
Whole new level.
Oh, what's different between the time management in Maxis and in Jaga?
So in Maxis, at least the role that I did was like, example, a product owner role. Usually you're given one product, one project, and then you have a layer of a project manager. Then comes a tech, business analysis, then your developer, then your tester. So you actually have so many layers sort of supporting your products. covering you from different angle, and then that's when you have 100% attention to think about how to commercialize your product, how to push a certain area. But for a startup scene, it's like you might or might not have a tester, you might or might not have a project manager. You need to commercialize your stuff. You need to think how to develop it and come up with requirements. Then you need to think of how to talk to your tech people and get it straight. And then you manage everything like end to end. So basically, imagining having 5-6 roles missing and all merged into sort of one. You don't have to do everything, but you need to know enough to like, oh, okay, now I need to test like that, because to do a proper product,
you need to cover like different
area. But the side back is also that because you are all over the place, this is what I see as a disadvantage. If you want to learn something deep, you will always feel like you are touching a bit here and there. Yeah, which is fine. It's really depending what you want. But for me, it's like you can have a lot of projects. In a startup scene. So one product owner can have like 2-3. So it's very much up to you whether you want to have project B to go faster than the project A, or talk to your boss and say that I think project C should be the one, and this also means that A and B would not be there, or A and B should come a bit later. So you learn to, because you have less layer, you deal with your bosses directly. That's when you would learn more from your bosses also, rather than have your manager one and then comes your another senior manager, comes another layer. You get more heat, and you drop faster, you learn faster.
Yeah, I think based on what you told me, I sort of caught on to something. Can I say from your point of view, like it's you learn more in a startup as compared to a corporate company? Because you are dealing with more aspects of the job, or is that statement wrong?
Yes, no, it's correct. It's correct.
Okay.
Because he was a bit shocked. I caught you there.
I'm never wrong.
Like for me, because my role is a bit special. My current role is a bit like strategy, assistant manager in strategy team. But just take the job title aside. What my boss wants me to do is basically deploy me into any areas of the companies to try to just work things out. That is my
problem solver. Is it like I solve the issues?
Problem solver should be anywhere. But I give you an example. So if projects are not moving and we have too many projects, somebody needs to structure a project, deploy you to structure a project. If we feel like the HR part would need a bit help to trigger some sort of framework discussion, PC, please go and
Basically,
help.
you count in whatever they cannot count in.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole mentality of startup is just 走快快, do quickly and just get it up, and which is also fun in that sense, because you just go in a lot of areas and you can be very, very busybody in every areas. At least I'm lucky enough to being given that kind of role to just go venture in different parts of it, because I'm sort of doing projects, and projects can be like literally anything at all. And sometimes I'm like doing tech stuff, sometimes I'm doing HR stuff, sometimes I'm doing like pure product stuff. Sometimes it's like I don't do so much operational work, but because doing a proper product planning, you actually need some operational experience. That's when startup also, they literally just let you, if I tell them I want to go and visit, do workshop, go to clinics, meet some nasty clients, I'm just like, go ahead, more than happy, because you want to learn. Then I'm like, sure, if I have all the time in the world. So I'm trying to also balance it out. Just imagine I'm only telling a fraction of stuff that I'm really doing. I'm not even going deep into what I'm doing. You can feel that I thought I learned enough about time management in Maxis, but honestly speaking, what I learned in Maxis is just what is only applicable in Maxis time of working environment. Maybe if I go to another MNC, it might not work. And the frustration I get when I go to a startup is that I was hoping that I can use some of what I learned in Maxis to try to work and help a startup.
Okay.
But a lot of times it's not like
It's not transferable.
no, it's not transferable.
Okay.
And of course, I was very being the known come from an MNC girl going to a startup and boss put you into like a cool team. You have to actually learn how to mingle, understand what's their problem first before being that like the bitchy bitch and just try to like manage anyone. So at least being a startup, I can do all this.
I think the main thing is more of like in a startup, the nature of the work is that you need to learn, kind of like expounding on what you said, it's like you're learning a lot, but from different places. You kind of know, okay, this department, how this, everything a bit, but when you're in a corporate setting, you learn a lot, but that a lot is very deep. Yeah, exactly. It's just the difference of width and depth only. So that one is going very deep into that particular role and that particular department, but there is still a lot of exposure. It's just maybe like different kinds of like a lot that we're talking about here.
But I mean, even if someone else were to venture into a startup, starting like an ops role, but I'm trying to get even some of my younger colleagues to understand is that I know maybe being an ops team is not cool because I had the same mentality when I was in Maxis too. Sometimes I will try to tell my peers and I'm like, I don't think I can work in an operational team because you always feel like you're doing repetitive stuff, it's a bit lame and everything. But now I see it very differently, and I'm not sure whether telling someone works because someone tells me stuff, it doesn't go in my head. It doesn't really go in. But now I'm trying, but at least I tell at least once, is that you guys are actually very valuable as an operational person. Yes, you find it lame to front customer for 6 months. You're doing things day in, day out. But little that you know, if you give yourself an aim doing that freaking 6 months, and just like, I know I want to move on to a planning role, just take what you learn and optimize this 6 months and just move on with your life. Don't always just feel like you're going to be there and stuck for 2-3 years. That's not how you're supposed to grow.
Not a good mentality.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out, what I really like about like structure, the program in management training in Maxis is that because I'm given 4 different rotations with the span of 4 years, so each rotation is about 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. Because I can't stay still, every time if I feel like I didn't perform well, I'm going to be like, it's just 6 months. Things will...
It's going to change
anyway.
It's
going to change anyway. If I perform great, then I'm like, I only have like another 2 months. I want to perform as much as I could because I need to move on. This is what I think would be helpful if you set a duration to yourself. Sometimes it will change.
Find the goal so you can actually keep track.
Because a lot of times you would want to wait for your boss to give you opportunity, or you want to wait for your senior to think like, hey Joshua, you are actually good in this, I think you can venture. No one actually has so much time for you, and sometimes they, even if they can see it from you, they might not tell. I don't know. Maybe because that's not how they learn, and that's not how they will teach you also. They'll let you just work it out and wait for you to reach out to them. When you work in a place with so many people, you just have to ask because they are actually all very knowledgeable. So yeah, just ask. And in the startup, one thing I feel like is lacking is that I personally, if I meet anyone that's a bit interesting background, in regardless of whatever work or role, any experiences, if I'm in a good mood and feel like want to chat, I would actually go forward and like try to ask like, oh, okay, you're doing this, why are you doing this? Just talk to them. Don't try to judge why they think like that. More on trying to figure out why would they even do it like that, and then from there you can learn it a bit better. Because I feel like having my add-on to the current company, a lot of times I don't feel like I'm the best. I still don't feel it, but I'm also wanting to learn from my colleagues that are there, are younger than me, but been there for a few years, and I also feel like they could learn one or two things from me. I mean, it's all about learning, and learning for me is what I wanted badly in my next job change. Else, I also told my boss, I would tell you that I would want to move on if I stop learning, and that's when you cannot stop me. If that's the only thing that I sort of really want. I mean, putting money aside, putting benefits aside, putting annual leave aside, I'm not someone who come here to just get my pay and just go off. If I want, I wouldn't even bother coming. So if I feel like I'm not delivering, not doing things, not learning enough, nobody can hold me back in any job. Yeah. Sometimes I feel quite lazy saying that.
I think it's good that you know what you want. It's that you know yourself and you know where you stand.
Now that I think the kill that he kill you don't know it in your first few months or your first few years.
I think that's the whole point of us actually going into the job, to get a feel of it. It's very different from when our parents were working. It was like one job, whole life.
I think it's more like you get the money, then you work for the money. Not really about like learning and passion and all. But now it's more of like
they didn't have the luxury.
Yeah, like what you said, we are pampered with options. You know, and like we can just quit our job and can just go to like a job portal and find like companies. So we are pampered with that choice, but again, like how do we make the decision, and how long are we going to give ourselves that 6 months or like 1 year, and when things don't go right, then we know when to change.
But I think in any work environment, giving 2-3 years is quite fair duration. No matter startup or within MNC, you give yourself 2 years. You're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be here, because when you come into a new work environment, because I can't tell much about startup because I'm at the 4th month. So same thing, like I go my new rotation. The first 3 months, I'm normally struggling like a lot. I can't do my normal workout routine. I get very stressed out, frequent migraine. I don't know how to deal with the colleagues yet. The colleagues yet, because you don't want to be too close first. You want to slowly remove a lot of barriers, and when things get smoother, you start adding complexity in. So it's just very normal for you to feel lost in the first few months. So give or take, your first 3 to 6 months, you're always adapting. And then after you're done adapting, you are still feeling freaking lost. That's when either you have issue, or your job has issue, or something else.
Something got issue.
Yeah, something got issue. I don't know what's the issue. Something
Something got issue.
Something something was wrong somewhere. That's when then after the 6 months, you sort of try to pick up yourself. After 1 or 2 years, you're gonna be like, you know it quite well. Then comes your junior newbie coming in, then you're like, so no. That's when you know that you were once there, but when you're there, unless you meet a nice senior, you'll be like, don't worry, Joshua, I was once like that. You know, just take it slow. You're doing fine. You don't always get that kind of comfort from anyone. And I didn't really get it in my first few months. Sometimes I get very frustrated. I get scolding from my managers, like, how could you not know? And then I realized that a lot of my smart peers get it right away, and then I'm like, am I stupid or what? But a lot of times I realize it's because they also have a lot of high expectation on this kind of youngsters, and sometimes they don't even say things clearly. And depending what is your strength and weaknesses, right? You can pick up an IT flow really fast, and you can pick up a product flow really fast, but you're really bad in operation work. And you so happen to have someone who didn't even guide you that well, or just too busy, and you're just asked to do it. So when you are asked to actually just do it, I always feel like it's very, very wrong for any managers to say why you do it wrong. Because you're not teaching me. You don't expect me as a newbie to learn it right away. I'm supposed to make mistake. Because you don't tell me. If you tell me and I make mistake, it's my problem. And by all means just scold me. But this is at least what I felt I learned in MNC, that I thought it was valuable, because sometimes you just feel like very useless. At least being useful is very important for me.
And that sort of compliment can't just come from anyone, right? You said like, you know, someone telling you that, oh, you're actually doing good already, you're actually doing great already. Yeah, it's not anyone that you feel it from. It must be someone who has experience and someone who has seen your work to be able to tell you like that.
And you must feel that person.
Yeah.
Like that person is generally trying to praise you, or just trying to be kind, to just sort of like make you happy.
Yeah.
You can rewind the clock back to when you were actually going into your first job. To what you know now, what would you actually say to maybe any fresh graduate that's looking and they're like, oh, I have an offer from MNC, I also have an offer from a startup. What would be things that you're actually telling them that's like to help them on that decision, or what would you tell yourself?
I mean, what's the hardest question on earth, or at least I feel at the current moment, is that what do you want?
No, that's such a
bad
question for us.
Like. What do you freaking want? I recently just figured out what I want. You ask yourself that. I mean, you don't get the answer right away. But at least what I tell myself these days is that don't just chase for monetary stuff. You know, everyone always say that, oh, what I want in life is find happiness. And everyone define it very, very differently. Very differently. It can be buying an iPhone, buying a car, taking frequent travels and whatsoever. For me is that I want to do whichever things I want that's non-work related. As long as I want it, I need to go and grab it. My job cannot stop me. Job is facilitating me to get the ability to do something. But it shouldn't be my everything. It shouldn't be like I'm doing this role because purely I want to pay for my car. And then I'm constantly chasing for money. Even I don't like the job, I don't like my colleagues, I don't like my boss. But because I have huge debt, so I need to work. Then you constantly very, very unhappy. At least this is what I tell my sister. I said that I want to be having choices. And then that's when you can bargain, and you know, when you're just left with one choice, you're like, oh, okay, I have to do this, I do this all. But when you have choices, you're gonna be like, if you not evaluate, like, oh, okay, this is the best, and I want it like that, and you feel better, rather than you're constantly stuck at one place. At least that's what I feel. Before I step into my 30s, I don't want to be like having too high of a commitment, and then later on need to stuck in a work environment that I hate the most. I don't know how to pass my life like that. It's actually very, very sad when I see people forcing themselves doing things that they don't like, and every day complain. I keep asking myself these days, what do I want in a job? What do I want in my life? What do I want out of work? How do I want my weekends to be? How do I want to spend time with my friends? What do I care the most? Like all this very, very, very simple question, but a lot of people just don't.
I think it's hard also because like it keeps changing. It's not always the same, and like the more we experience, the more it changes. So I don't think it's an easy question for anyone to answer. Like I'm pretty sure now I would want something, but like as soon as I start working, as I start meeting new people, it'll be different.
I think there's no like clear-cut direct answer like A or B. It's not so black or white. I think it's more of understanding what both type of companies, what's the difference, and what they offer you. So if you understand that, then I think you can make a more informed choice. But when it comes down to it, I think it's still like what you said, what do you want? And I think it stems more for not the type of company per se, but once I know what they're both offering me, it gives me a better idea of like, what do I think I will like, or what do I think I will enjoy, and then just go and try and just do the best to your ability to wherever you are.
Because that's when you really find out if you like it.
Yeah, there's no other way, there's no other theory but go and try. Go and try. If you don't like it, alright, man. It's not like it's the end of the world. Just find another job. Yeah.
It's cooler to say that you tried.
So we come to the end of our episode. We just want to thank PC again for joining us, and we really hope that you guys got something from our discussion with this MNC and startup contrast. So we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.